Hi, Arwa.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Fine, fine. How's everything with you with the quarantine?
Well, so far, so good. It's a beautiful day in London and just came back from a lovely bike ride in Hyde Park. Obviously, social distancing, but it's good to get some fresh air.
Definitely, yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's good to be outside when possible, and the sun helps. So,
Yes, of course. So,
so
yeah, so just gonna welcome everyone to our live series. We've done a couple, and today we have Nina with us, who's a lecturer at London College of Fashion, and she's also interested in integrating sustainability and fashion business practices. So, thank you for coming on today.
thank you for inviting me, and congratulations on FibreLab. It's a
Thank
great
you.
platform, and it's amazing to see how you've progressed as a team, and yeah, exciting to see how this evolves.
Thank you, thank you. So I just wanted to ask you, like, how did this start with you? Like the whole sustainability, how you started? Like, how did you start?
Well, I was always very much interested in fashion because I moved around a lot as a child. So I would start collecting Vogues from the different countries that I lived in. And that was my introduction to fashion. And, you know, when you're just so, I mean, I use obsession in a healthy way because I love, you know, the collections, you know, what are the artistic meanings behind it, the design processes. And the more you look into it, the more you read into it, it naturally leads you to understand, you know, where, you know, certain fibers come from, our impact on the environment, on different lives throughout the supply chain. So I think, you know, it was a real eye opener, especially when I was about 18, 19, and I started, I started my own blog back then, and that was kind of you know, that's when, you know, kind of all of these blog platforms came to be. And, you know, I was really interested in journalism and getting to, understand the processes. And so the more research I did, the more I understood that in order to work in the industry, we need to do all we can to make it more positive. And how do we, you know, make those changes? And I think that's a responsibility for really anybody working in fashion, you know, even as, you know, also a student, we all have that possibility to make it better. So I'm very much driven in, you know, how do we make an industry that is beautiful on the surface, beautiful also throughout, you know, cotton to actually the end consumer.
Yeah, through the whole process. Yeah. So what's like a London-based fashion house that you like admire, like for their sustainability?
Well, London is extremely unique because it's always been known to be, you know, this breeding ground for disruptors and disruptors in design, but also in the way that we, you know, view fashion in terms of, you know, identity, culture, and especially recently, there's been this incredible crop of new gen designers that, you know, it's not just about aesthetics; it's really about, you know, values and ethics. And you know, because London has, you know, the British Fashion Council, these amazing universities, you know, there's an emphasis on going beyond the product. And so that results in designers such as, you know, Phoebe English, Bethany Williams, you know, a whole host from, you know, really even MA students right now at LCF, Royal College of Art, Central St. Martin's. They're doing things differently. And, you know, just of the designers I mentioned, you know, Phoebe English is, you know, using, you know, upcycled materials, you know, bringing that information out of how it's sustainable to other designers. So there's that emphasis on collaboration and knowledge exchange. Also, you know, Bethany Williams is, you know, helping different communities in, you know, empowering certain communities to participate, and, you know, where fashion doesn't just become neutral of, you know, not making a negative impact, but how do we actually boost people's livelihoods through through creating that product. And, you know, in terms of materials, there's a lot of exciting talent using, you know, pineapple leather, mushroom leather.
I heard it. Yeah, it's so interesting. I just can't hear you. I think,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, there you go.
Using, kombucha and growing materials, out of kind of that bacteria. So it's creativity can come from so many different ways, and so that's why I'm a big believer in education and how do we think out of the box in making this positive impact.
Yeah. Are there any resources that you'd recommend, like, for people to look on to educate ourselves about sustainability, especially now, like something online?
Yeah, well, we are so lucky to live in an age of, knowledge exchange, through social media. I mean, first of all, what you guys are doing of using social media to communicate stories and information. But other platforms, well, first of all, London College of Fashion and Caring have an amazing online course. It's about 8 weeks and it's for free. And you really know start to finish, how garments are made, the impact of garments. So, I'll send you that link and maybe you should share it because it's a fantastic course. Yeah. And, especially whilst, self-isolating under lockdown, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to educate yourself.
Absolutely. So that I would really recommend. Speaking of LCF, the Center of Sustainability, they have a wonderful section about reports and research that they've done. Some of their team have come up with a research document called the Earth Logic Plan, which is really worth reading and looking into. And then also, platforms and organizations, including, Fashion Revolution. We just had Fashion Revolution Week.
Yeah.
The Sustainable Angle, they have extremely good resources regarding, textiles. So there are so many opportunities to, educate yourself and to understand really more about, the garments of what we wear.
Exactly. So with the lockdown, have you found it difficult to manage your waste, or like plastic bottles or plastic cans? Or
well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, on one hand, I think we've become much more aware of, using everything that we possibly can to really reduce the waste. And, one example of that is we subscribe to a company called Oddbox. And I don't know if you've heard of them, but they basically send over, once a week, fruit and vegetables that would have been discarded otherwise in stores. So kind of a lettuce that is too big, or carrots that don't fit that shape. And so, we subscribe to that, and we really, base our meals off of, what we have and try to use, everything to the fullest. In terms of, plastic and, that kind of waste, we definitely do try to, when we're in the supermarket, try to shop as ethically as we can, but it is definitely a challenge, especially I think it is more difficult during lockdown because, we don't go out as much and you don't have that much time. So it's almost, you get those necessities to kind of keep going. But I think especially in cities, it's difficult to be as, as resourceful, just in terms of composting, for example. If you don't have a garden, it's a bit difficult. So it is a challenge.
I've seen these little boxes. You can compost in them and you can keep them in your house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen them here in Saudi Arabia. They're using them. They're really interesting. So your food waste, it's just, you can reuse it or put it.
I mean, it's so important. And I think, the more we speak about it and the more and more information is out there, it's easier, because I think we're still at that stage of not really knowing how to effectively reduce your waste, and to just to be more, everyone has the intention to do good. I think no one wants to intentionally litter, and so
of course
it's just, how do we communicate that effectively, I think.
Yeah. So do you think the fashion industry will change after COVID-19? Do you think fashion will be slower in a way?
So that's a very good question, and a lot of debate is around this subject. So on one hand, I think that whilst under lockdown, people are craving to have something, you know, delivered, that to have something new, to have something, you know, that kind of breaks your day up out of the ordinary, so to speak. So I think after lockdown, people will continue to purchase and continue to buy. I think it is a little bit of a, you know, idealistic to say, okay, you know, we've all reflected on our decisions, we will change completely. I don't think that will happen that quickly, but I think this time has allowed the industry, everyone, you know, within it, to reflect how we can be better and how we can transition to be a better industry. So I don't think the change will happen immediately, but I do think that, you know, as we approach the next few seasons, we will. And I mean, what a perfect example of that is how London Fashion Week is, you know, going digital, and how, you know, Yves Saint Laurent, they are, you know, not going to be presenting at Paris Fashion Week. So there's already that change.
Exactly.
And so, you know, people do realize that, you know, we can't just carry on with business as usual. And so a lot of designers, so from my conversations of, you know, seeing how everyone's doing, is, you know, people are thinking, you know, how can we, you know, how can we change business models? How can we, you know, have more relationship with the consumer instead of going, you know, simply to wholesale and, you know, having a lot of excess waste, for example. So people are reflecting, and I'm optimistic, and I think, you know, all industries will take this moment to think, okay, how do we actually create positive change with, you know, having that business acumen at the base of it. So yeah, but it will take time.
Yeah, and I think also from the consumer end, like consumers are being like more, they're thinking about every purchase that they're making more and more these days, especially after like mass production and what's happening in like factories and everything, and the shutdown of factories.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think it's a big responsibility of those, you know, in the industry, but also, you know, influencer figures. You know, it's a change of the narrative of what we see as fashionable and what we see as cool. You know, it's the same as how we've seen, you know, flights and travel. You know, there's a bit of shame of, you know, if you're traveling all the time, people are starting to think, you know, is that necessary? Is that actually, you know, the values that we have, you know, as a generation, for example. So I think that's why, you know, especially when we look at Gen Z, you know, younger millennials, there is this huge, you know, opportunity and influx of, you know, buying secondhand, of buying, you know, things that, you know, will last longer. So, so yeah, it's just adapting to those changes, and, you know, yeah, redefining what we want fashion to do for us in a way. And that's really through the power of storytelling, I believe. You know, people aren't interested. I mean, facts and data matters, but in terms of changing our behaviors, we need people to communicate and to bring stories, to see those visuals. That's what's really important, I think.
Exactly, yeah. And with all these initiatives that are happening, it's a great way, like it's a great platform.
Yeah, and there's, you know, again, you know, digital disruption has changed the industry so much, but it's, you know, for better and for worse. But in terms of better, there's these amazing, you know, powerhouses of, you know, people that are changing, that are acting differently, that are, you know, inspiring us to change our behaviors. And so, you know, we are able to connect through these platforms and redefine, yeah, how we act. So it's an opportunity.
Exactly. Thank you so much for everything today. For talking to us. It was great.
No worries. Well, it was lovely to speak with you, Arwa, and yeah, look forward to see what FibreLab.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have like more Instagram lives, so we'd love to like have you like listen in and watch.
Oh, amazing. Take care, and yeah, speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.